Good morning, everybody. I hope you're having a great day today. My name's Cody, and I want to thank you so much for stopping by today. So we have had some more crazy weather here. We had a good mix of warm weather, and then we had another snowstorm come in. We had another foot drop these past few days. The temperature's not too bad out today, but had some more drifting at the driveway that I got to take care of. So to start, I'm going to get the tractor going, get that snow removed real quick, and then we're going to hop into something a little bit different today, which I'm excited to do. But first things first, I got to get this snow moved. Got to make sure we always have our personal protective equipment on. Hearing is super important. You definitely don't want to play around with losing that. But there we go, my little PSA about keeping yourself safe out there. But there we go. That was a quick plow this morning. Got the driveway opened back up, so now people are able to get to their dog parks easily and not getting stuck, because I don't know what it is, but we're just on one gravel road down from a paved road, but it seems like people, they just like to drive into the ditches on the gravel road. So I spend a bit of time every winter pulling people out of the ditch. I don't mind doing it, I just get a kick out of it. I think it's kind of funny sometimes, but anyway, I digress. Let's get back inside here and on to the main project for the day. I don't know how things are in your guys' neck of the woods, but we here have been battling terribly with our daughter and daycare plagues coming home. We've been down for about 2 weeks now, and it's been brutal. Fortunately, June, she's back on the mend now, and she's back at daycare today, which is great, but Holly and I have been struggling pretty hard. So yeah, the last few weeks have been tough, long nights, and it's never fun when your little one is sick like Holly or like June has been. But anyway, yeah, I don't know, are you guys struggling with seasonal bugs or anything in your area? It's always interesting to see what's kind of kicking around out there. Hey, Penny. Oh, hello. Before I jump into today's project, I'm just going to make myself a quick little tea here. So let's pull a few of these herbs off the shelves here. And I think I will go with a spearmint to start. And then can't go wrong with our chamomile. That one, hawthorn berries, always a good mix. And what else do we have here? Let's do some lavender. There we go. Tea's had about 5 minutes to steep, and that's really what you're after. Beautiful color. The smell is just fantastic. I'm sure I've mentioned it before, but for me, peppermint tea is just such a classic comfort tea. My grandma always used to make it for me, and every time I smell that, it just reminds me of her. So that in the sink there, and now we can start what we're going to get on to today. So today it is, oh gosh, what are we, early March, I think the first week of March here, and we're still several months away from getting out into the garden in our area, but that doesn't mean that there's things that we can't start indoors now, one of which is being onions. And I grow a number of different onions, and I grow a bunch of different things, and I save their seed, and some of them I sell, some of them I keep. Some that make it through the trials, they make it through into our packaging that we do here for sales, and others, I just don't have much luck out here, and they don't make it into sales. But anyway, these are some onions that I'm going to get growing. The nice thing about onions is that they can be started early, and I want to do a little bit of an experiment with our onions here. Now, there are two ways you can grow onions. One is from seed, like this here. I don't know if that'll show up very well, but onion seed. And the other way is through an onion set. Now, onions are a biennial plant, which means that they'll typically flower the second year. And I've heard a lot of people have issues sometimes when they grow onions from set, if the dormancy period hasn't been started properly, or if they get the sets in at the wrong time. What they've essentially done is tricked the onion into thinking that it's actually their second growth year, and what they do is then they'll send up a scape, which is a flower stalk for the onion there, and a seed head, and instead of growing a nice big juicy onion, which is what we're after, the plant spends all of its energy trying to reproduce itself with the seed. So you end up with basically no onion, but more seed. So anyway, that is one problem that people run into when they try to grow onions from sets as opposed to from seed. When growing onions from seed, you don't run into that as long as you grow from the same growing season. So onions can take quite a long time to mature, but if you grow them from seed, it's all in that 1 year cycle. So you're not going to have to worry so much about having a poor quality onion crop, if that makes any sense. At around the summer solstice, when the daylight switches from lots and it starts to get lower, that's typically when the onions start to bulb up. So they do pay very close attention to the weather patterns and the sun as well. So that's something to keep in mind as well for your onions. The onions are probably one of the best things you can grow, even if you have a small garden. They are just fantastic. It's a natural remedy for so many different things. So full of vitamins and minerals and all sorts of good things for our body. They also store really well, which is a great addition if you're looking to extend your food crops well into the winter. If you cure them properly in the fall when you harvest them, they can last straight through the winter, which is a great thing to do. Plus, they add a lot of flavor to soups or stews or anything else that you have going on in that regards too. So there we go. So I went ahead and I got these trays all filled up with their potting mix here. And like I said, it's super important to use an indoor mix. You don't want to be bringing in anything from outside into your grow room or your seed room. It could spread disease. It can also inoculate your whole house with fungus gnats or nasty things like that. So always use a nice indoor potting mix here. And I've also went ahead and added some water to the bottom here just so that the soil can start to moisten up a little bit. I always like to plant into pre-moistened potting mix. It just helps the seeds stick a little bit better to the mix, and yeah, just makes everything a little bit easier here. Ideally, what I wanted to have were just these large, I don't know what you call them, 3x3s. I suppose cells just for the onion planting, but I didn't have enough, so I had to go with some of these cellulated or compartmentalized ones. It'll be interesting to see if there's any difference on the growing or not, but anyway, that's okay. And I whittled it down to 8 varieties of onions because this tray will hold 8 of these packs, so that way it's just easier to keep track of everything and go from there. So I'll quickly run through the varieties of onions that I'm going to be growing here and get them planted up and ready to go. So the first variety we have here is a Rosa di Milano. So this is an Italian heirloom variety. They store really well. They've got a nice bright red and purple skin. And yeah, they are just fantastic little onions to have. The next one we have here is the brune onion, a French heirloom, a shallot style of onion. Sometimes called a banana shallot. But it's got a really good, nice flavor to that one as well. Next here we have the Isla Craig onion. Now this is a Spanish onion, and it has a very, what do you call it? It's got a very fine texture and rather mild flavor. So this one's really good for salads or sandwiches along those lines. They're really tolerant to cold weather. They tend to be ready to harvest much earlier than other Spanish types of onions, so I really like to grow this guy as well. So next here we have the Welsh onion. Now these onions can get quite large. They sometimes resemble leeks. And they have a hollow stem on them as well. Next here we have the, what is this one? The Southport White Globe onion. Now these ones are one of the best storage onions that I've ever had. And they just seem to keep forever, right through the winter. And when you're trying to grow more food to get you through those colder months, this is a really good one to grow, and that is the Southport White Globe onion. Okay, next here we have a Japanese heirloom variety. This one is the Ippon Negi, I believe that's how you pronounce it, and it dates back to the Edo period, or Edo period. I always get the pronunciation mixed up, but it is a very old heirloom, and it's technically a scallion, but they can be large enough to resemble leeks. So this is another very interesting, very delicious onion to grow. Next here we have a Boratana heirloom. This is a Italian heirloom near the town of Boratala. Boreto. My Italian is not up to snuff there. It's a nice small yellow storage onion, very, very delicious, flat in shape, and they can store up to 5 months, and they make a lovely braid if you're looking to do those sorts of things. Now, last one here is the Kelsey onion. Now, this one actually holds the world record for the largest onions. So this one I like to grow. It's a delicious onion, but I also like to get those nice big chunky onions as well. So that is a good addition to Kelsey, I believe is how you pronounce it. And yeah, it's going to go into the mix here. Always important to remember to stake or tag out what variety you're doing, just so you don't lose track. But now that the onion seeds are on the soil here, I'm just going to spread them around gently. You don't have to be too delicate. These things are quite tough. Press them firmly into the soil. Make sure that their distribution is even. Again, we're planting very, very thick here, so that's not the most important thing, because in a later video, and you'll see they can pull out quite easily. And I think even last year I might have a video up of where I prick out onion seedlings, and it's just amazing at how easy it is to do. So we probably got close to 200 seeds planted. I know it's probably out of frame here, but 200 plus seeds planted in this little flat, and it took no time at all. And we're gonna do that same process for the rest of these guys here. And we're back. So we got a nice tall humidity dome here that will work with those stakes. And what that's going to do is help keep everything nice and humid in there, so that way everything stays nice and evenly moist. I like to bottom water with all of my stuff just because I don't like to get the foliage wet. I think that helps, well, I guess it hinders the seedlings' growth. You can get to damping off, which is just a terrible thing that happens to your seedlings. It kills them. And bottom watering, I find, also helps to encourage the roots to go down and search for water. So at the end of the day, you get a more robust root system, which is fantastic. So I probably got over 1,000 seeds planted today. And the cool thing about that is you'll have no harm to your onions when you go to transplant them out, which is fantastic, just because of their, like I said, they got the fiber optic-y type roots there, so they do really, really well when you start pricking them out. And later on in the season, I'll show you how I do that. If you were to plant them more traditionally, where you put in these, they're little 3x3, so you've got 9 cells there. And same idea, you'd fill them up with potting mix there, and you put 1 or maybe 3 to 5 seeds, and you'd thin them out later. If you were to do that to get the same 1,000 plants that we're talking about, you would need 13 of these guys. So it just takes up so much more space, and you get the same results doing it this way. So don't take my word for it. Check back in a few months once we get going here. And a lot of other great videos out there on YouTube too. If you want to jump ahead, you can see what we're doing. But in the the space-saving benefit of this method is just fantastic. So the other thing I want to point out too is typically when I grow my onions, I do grow them for our own usage, for storing them over the winter for use, but my main focus is growing them for the heirloom seeds that we sell. And what I like about this method is I have a little bit more control over when they go to seed. So like I mentioned earlier, the onions are a biennial plant, so their first season, what they do is they send up their little leaves, and they look a lot like grass, and then after you get to that summer equinox there, or summer solstice rather, and the days start to get shorter, and that triggers the onions to start bulbing up, and then they store that energy for the winter, or whatever the winter is, and then the following year, with all that energy, they're going to shoot up a flower spike, and then that's how they reproduce. But what I can do is I can trick them into going into, in a single season, get the seed out of them. So for a seed grower like myself, it's a really beneficial way to save a whole year on your seed production. So that's something to keep in mind. Depending on what your goals are as a gardener, you might not want the seed, and if that's the case, that's okay. This method will work as well too. But if you are growing for the seed, this is a great way to trick the plants into giving you seed that first year. So that's pretty much it. As always, I appreciate you watching this far. If you made it this far, thank you, thank you. If you have any questions about onions or growing onions or anything like that, feel free. Let's have a discussion in the comments below. But I'm going to leave it there, guys. So thanks again. I really appreciate every single one of you. And yeah, I hope you have a great day. So until next time, guys, take care, and we'll see you later. Bye now.